Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. Now I must know the story.
All right. So, I mean, you know the story, but
I actually don't, I don't know the outcome though. I don't know how it went down.
oh, okay. Well, we got to tell the whole story. So you're gonna hear parts that you already know.
Oh, not the
Um,
boring parts, dude.
not the lead up. All right. So if anyone
Start with
doesn't
the
know,
punchline and work back to the joke.
we had recently had an Airbnb in Chicago because we were all going there for the Minecraft marathon, and a lot of us wanted to come in a few days early and hang out, and we did like an escape room and just a couple of different things. We had a good time.
Wow.
Do what?
I just things are coming in like groups, and all of a sudden, like a bunch of skeletons and creepers just jumped on my face.
So anyways, so we rented this Airbnb, and I've had nothing but positive Airbnb experiences for the most part. There's been a couple snags here and there. We were there in London for a heat wave, and like the refrigerator died because it was 1,000 degrees. And they don't have air conditioning because it's not normally 1,000 degrees.
And they
So
had
that
a
one kinda
sex
sucked.
shower.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that shower. It wasn't a sex shower, but they've had a sex couch.
They did have a sex
But
couch.
it was an interesting shower, that's for sure. Never seen one like that before or again. But anyways, this particular Airbnb, there was a couple weird things that happened. So first off, Chicago has tried to kill the Airbnb market. So they've made it really hard to even host as an Airbnb person. There's all these things hoops you have to jump through to declare all your guests. Everyone's going to be in the house overnight, that sort of thing. You have to pay these fees to Chicago to even be an Airbnb host, just all these other little things. So whenever it's built into the site at this point because Airbnb knows about all these regulations. So like whenever you are an Airbnb host, like you have to have this seller ID and all this other stuff on the site so that you can even do it. And then whenever like as a consumer, when you register your Airbnb, you have to provide a list of all the guests that'll be staying overnight and all this so that it fits the Chicago regulation and whatnot. So whenever we booked this Airbnb, it was a place that says it could sleep 16. Here's one thing about Airbnb. If you've never used the site before, if you're going with you and 3 other coworkers, for example, so you need 4 beds, you need a place that sleeps 8 because literally everyone on Airbnb counts every bed as if it sleeps 2. So this is something I've learned over the years of getting Airbnbs at conventions or other places. You have to say, I'm looking for how many people you're going times 2, unless they're couples that they're going to share a bed. So I looked for a place that could like sleep 20 or something like that because I knew it was going to be 10 of us going. And so anyways, found this place and it said it had 11 beds or no, 14 beds. I think is what it said. I don't remember the exact listing now. Anyway, it said a shitload of beds. And so I booked it. And when I booked it, I was looking at the prices and like, if you had selected for 8, it was the cheapest. And then everything after that, like, if you selected for 1, it was the same price as for 8. But then like when you went to 9 or 10 or whatever, the price kept going up. And we didn't know exactly how many of us were going. So I was like, I'm just gonna book it for 8. And if I need to change it, I will or whatever. So I booked it for 8. And then he contacts me like 2 days before we're leaving. He's like, all right, I need to know every guest that's coming to the house. And I'm like, well, when I registered the thing, I put that in because it's part of the site. And he just like came back with like, but I need to know them all. And I was like,
I need to be wined and dined by everyone first.
yeah. And so that finally satisfied him. He was able to find the list on the site, and he's like, all right, any other visitors or anything like that? I'm like, what do you mean by visitors? I was like, because I knew that Josh said that Austin might drive up one day and hang out, and then Drew was visiting some friends in town. So, and at one point he said they might stop by or something like that. And so I was like, well, I just told the guy this, like, yeah, there's a couple guys that got some local friends. They might stop by and hang out, but they're not gonna be staying in the house. And he's like, I need to know every single visitor that's gonna enter through my door. And I was like, why? And he was like, well, there's a $30 visitor fee for anyone that's coming in the home. And so I actually called the Chicago City Council to find out how the Airbnb law in Chicago works. And their requirement is only for overnight guests. And so
But it is still legitimate $30 for every extra overnight guest.
Not to Chicago. He's basically jacked that price up. As I understand, I don't think it was that a month. But that's his own rule or whatever. Which they're allowed to do that. They can totally do that if they want. So I responded back to him. I was like, well, I checked with Chicago and the city council, and it's just people that are staying overnight that you need to register with the city and, you know, pay a fee or whatever. And then he was like, yes, but for my house, anyone that enters my home, I need to know who they are, and I'm expecting to be paid $30 for anyone entering my home. And
Eh,
I was like, so let me get this straight. If someone stops by for 5 minutes, you want to get paid $30? And he was like, yes. And so I was like, I was kind of pissed at this point. I was like, all right, I'll just let my friends know if any of their friends stop by, they can only talk on the sidewalk and they won't enter through your doorway. And so you didn't see this, but then I messaged everyone in Discord, and I'm like, all right, we need to get an exact head count here, because he also responded back with like, I have infrared cameras and I will be monitoring everyone that walks through the doorway and all this other stuff. And I was like, okay. So I, you know, messaged everyone in Discord. I was like, all right, we need an exact head count because I don't want to deal with this guy being anal whenever we're there. And maybe we should have canceled this point, but it was 2 days out. So booking another place would have been difficult, and I would have had to get a refund because I already paid him and blah blah blah. So we get an exact head count, and or at least what we think is going to be there at the most, because like some people were coming in late and whatnot, and so it seemed fair to tell him that 10 people were going to. So I tell him, I'm like, all right, listen, I paid for 8. Looks like there might be 10. Do you want to charge us $60 extra? If so, go for it. He's like, no, that's not a big deal at all. It's like, what the hell just happened? We just spent like many hours trading emails back and forth, and now you're just like, nah, don't worry about it. So anyways,
well, and explain, didn't he at the beginning, how did he advertise the place? And didn't you have a conversation with him about like the marathon, and he thought that you meant you were hosting it at his place?
well, he did say, you know, good for venues and all this stuff. And on Airbnb, it always asks you, why are you coming to the city or whatever. And so I filled it out, you know, that we're coming in for a charity event. We're going to stay there a few days beforehand. But he took it as we were hosting the event at his house, because I'd also emailed him just to make sure before I booked it. I wanted to make sure the internet was good, because I knew we'd want to stream from there. So I'd emailed him about that. So he knew that I cared about the internet. And so somehow I know that he got it in his head. We were hosting a charity event at his house.
Which he was completely okay with, right?
He was, as long as he was getting paid for every person that was walking through the front door. And so I did explain to him, I was like, listen, we're not hosting any parties. We're not hosting a charity event. Nothing's happening in your house other than us sleeping there. And we're going to do our normal work, but we're not inviting large groups of people over, and there's nothing special no special events are happening in your house. So I made that very clear after what seemed like his confusion with this matter. And so anyways, we end up, you know, agreeing, whatever, we're good with the amount we paid. See you there. And so I got there super early. I landed like 9 a.m. And Bria landed soon after that. Honestly, it was like 11, I think. So I was just sitting downstairs. I didn't go to the Sky Lounge or anything because I don't have the same Delta status, so I don't just get Sky Lounge access. So I just went straight to like baggage claim, got my bags, and sat down in an area where I could work on my laptop, and just worked on marathon stuff. And so that was fine with me. I didn't really care. And so I did that until about 2. And Brian, like I said, he got there like 11:30 or so, and we just both sat there and did marathon-based work. And so around 2:30, I messaged the guy because I still hadn't got like the room or the house key information. You know, like there's normally like a lockbox outside the house where you need that code or whatever to enter the lockbox to get in the house.
Right.
And I still hadn't gotten that. And so I messaged him. I'm like, hey, you know, I know check-in's not till 3. But it's about 2:30 now, and I'm at the airport. So I was thinking about heading on over here because by the time I get there, it'll probably be about 3 anyways. So what's that info, yo? You know, I didn't say it like that, but, you know. And he responds back, and he's like, hey, listen, the people that stayed here before you have really wrecked my house, and we're in the process of cleaning it, but I don't know when it's going to be done being clean. You're totally free to come over and drop off your bags and stuff and hang out maybe in Chicago, but I really don't think you want to stay in the house right now, and I'd prefer you did. And so I was like, okay, well, we'll come drop off our bags, and that's understandable. You know, shit happens. And so little did I know.
More than you know.
So you know, we make our way over. And, you know, at that point, a lot of you guys were close to getting, well, you weren't because you were coming the next day, but a lot of the other guys were close to getting in anyways. And was like, well, we'll go over, get settled, and then they can all come over when they get in as well. Because some of them were coming to international. We know how long customs and stuff like that we're going to take anyways. So we go on over, and we get there, and I ring the doorbell and ring the doorbell. No one answers. I finally call the guy, and eventually someone comes to the door. This was like a 10-15 minute thing in itself, where it's kind of like, are we at the right place? And I like kept looking in the window. I was like, it looks like the right place. So finally, the guy that was cleaning the house comes and lets us in. And he's like, you just tell he was like frazzled. He was like, hey, you bring your bags in and everything. I'm cleaning right now. And I was like, John said we couldn't. John was the guy that rented the house. He's like, John said we really shouldn't stay because you're cleaning. He's like, you're not in my way. I've already, you can just hang out here on the couch and stuff, but a lot of the house still isn't ready yet. I'm gonna have to clean. I'm like, all right, well, that's cool. So we'll just put our bags here, and maybe we'll hang out for a bit. Some other people are coming in soon. Maybe we'll go grab dinner or whatever, and you can keep cleaning. And so, meanwhile, he's upstairs cleaning some stuff and everything, and I'm like, kind of looking around the house, scoping it out, because there was about 4 houses in Chicago that would have held us all. And we decided on this particular house because one of the cheaper ones, the beds didn't look as good, and then some of the more expensive ones didn't have any like activities, like there was no pool table, there was no dartboard, none of this type of stuff. So we ended up deciding on this one because it looked like it had, decent beds and activities, and it was a big space, so it seemed like the best of the options. Plus, one of the other ones didn't respond about the internet, and this guy was like a super seller or whatever the hell Airbnb calls it. So it was like, all right, well, if we book this one, we know what he's going to follow, because I've had it happen before where like you book an Airbnb and then you just don't get a response, and so you have to wait 3 days, and then you don't have to start looking for another place because they don't respond, so you don't actually get the place. So normally when they're like a power seller or super seller, whatever the hell they call them, if you book it, it's like, booked right away and you're good to go. So anyways, we decide on this place. So we get there, I'm kind of looking around, and there's the pool table, and it looked like a stripper had been murdered on this thing. I mean, you saw it, but
Yes.
for anyone that hasn't, I mean, it's just covered in like glitter, and there's like holes in it, and it's just like this nightmare. And it's like, man, this looks like shit. Was this what they messed up? The previous guests or whatever. And then I'm start looking around. I go in the kitchen, and meanwhile, I'm noticing like the floors are kind of sticky everywhere, and the floors hadn't been mopped or anything. I'm like, well, he's still clean. That I'm sure, because again, he was still upstairs cleaning at this point. And so I opened up the refrigerator, and someone had just taken like baked beans or something and just like smeared it all over the back of the refrigerator. There's just food everywhere. And so I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. And then I started opening up the kitchen drawers, and like every drawer in that place had been used as an ashtray at some point. And so I'm just looking around, and like the more I look around, the more horrified I am. I'm like, geez, this place really is a nightmare. So I go and sit down for a bit, and I'm talking to Justin, and oh no, wait, Justin, I guess Justin made it there at this point, because before it was just me and Breon, and but Justin made it there, and so I had Babs, and so I'm talking to them, and I'm like, I gotta use the bathroom, I'll be right back. And so I walk away to go to the bathroom, open up the bathroom door downstairs, and it's a nightmare. Someone had taken literal shit and just smeared it everywhere. It was all over the toilets, all over the mirror, just everywhere, just shit, literal shit. And so I'm like, oh my God. And so I go and tell Justin, and Babs looks at it, and he's like, I can't even look at this. He'd already gone and looked at the refrigerator, and he was already like appalled by this whole thing. Justin has never had a successful Airbnb. The first one he got was overrun with termites. Like they were coming out of all the drains and all this shit. And like the guy that rented the place was like, yeah, it's termite season, dude.
It's just termite season. That's it.
Yeah. The second one he got was fake. It didn't exist at all. So they got there to get in, and there was no house. And then this is the third. And so he's immediately like, this is what Airbnb is. And I'm like, but really it's not, Justin. I'm like, this is literally the first time I've ever had anything like this. But you can't convince someone once they've, third time, like, so he's already like, I don't know if I want to stay here. And then when we find the shit, Babs goes and looks at it, Justin goes and looks at it, and he's immediately like, I'm leaving. I'm not staying here. I refuse to stay here. He's like, who knows where else it's got shit on it or cum on it or who knows what. He's like, I'm not staying here. And so he starts looking for hotels, and I talked to the cleaning guy, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what happened here? Why is this like this? Like, what did y'all do? What did they do? Why is this the way it is? I was thinking back to my emails with this guy about this like stupid back and forth about guests or whatever. I'm like, did he piss them off the same way, being petty about these things or whatever. And the guy was just like, I don't know, you know, it's a nightmare or whatever. And I'm like, who smears shit everywhere? And then the cleaning guy goes, that's dog feces. And I'm like, I literally go, what are you, a shit connoisseur? How do you know that? And he's like, well, you know, I had dogs growing up. I just know the difference. And so as far as this guy was concerned, that was dog shit, which to me just adds new questions. Like, where did the dog shit come from? Where did they find dog shit? Why did they, who was touching dog shit and smearing it places? Like,
was the dog trying to use the toilet and just isn't successful at it yet?
Right. Like, just the number of questions just compounded, basically. Anyways, he ends up cleaning for quite a while. And then he just leaves. And he never did like mop the floor or any of that stuff. He cleaned up the bathrooms. He had replaced the bed sheets and stuff while we were there. So I saw him do all that. But he, like I said, never mopped the floors. You know, I asked him at one point because we were looking for the pool balls and we couldn't find them at all. I was like, where are the pool balls? And he's like, I don't know anything about that. And so, you know, I messaged the owner and I'm like, hey, listen, you know, I know this was all a nightmare for you. I've seen the literal shit and stuff. And so, you know, that all sucks and everything. But like, you know, part of the reason why we booked this place is for the pool table. There are no pool balls. And I was like, there are no darts, you know, there are none of these amenities that were promised. They just don't exist. I was like, so, you know, I'm going to put that on you to get us some pool balls, you know, make it happen, basically. I mean, that shouldn't be that hard to do. He's like, yeah, don't worry, dude. We'll get you new pool balls by tomorrow morning at the latest, which never happened. So then, you know, things just keep getting kind of worse as things go on. Like, we realized that the number of beds promised, 6 of them were futons.
Shitty futons.
Shitty futons. Yes, absolutely garbage futons. And I felt bad for all this. I mean, I even took a futon. Like back in the day when we'd book Airbnbs, there was a couple things. One thing, a lot of people never paid me back. So that was one of the problems always back in the day. That's why this time I was like, everyone must pay me, and I was super anal about it. In the back of the day, I'd be like, oh, whatever, they pay me back. You know, I can front this. But this time I was super strict about it, make sure everyone paid me like ahead of time. So that was one thing back in the day, but I don't remember where I was going with this. Anyways, so I'm messaging the guy and I'm like, you know, the internet would go out, and I'd message him like, hey, dude, the internet's out. This is kind of important.
Oh yeah, I went out multiple times while we were there. That's right.
Oh yeah. The internet was not as promised for sure. Nothing was as promised. You know, went to oh, well, I was gonna say the reason I mentioned that I didn't get paid back is I was always take a good bed. Like I was always first one there, and I always to grab a good bed. But this one I didn't. I was like, whatever, you know, I'm just gonna grab this futon because I feel bad that we've even booked this place. You know, I complained to him about the balls, the beds, all this, complained about the internet, and like just things just kept getting worse and worse as time went on. And so then one night we're sitting there streaming, like the second night we were there, we're streaming after like an hour of nightmare, even trying to get the stream to work because how bad the internet was. And the cleaning guy stops by again at like 12:30, 1 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing to me.
Yeah, it was pretty weird. Yeah, I mean, we've come to realize that he lives downstairs. I don't know if you were outside whenever we saw him going in downstairs, but like he lived below the place.
But still, he said like when he got there, and knocked on the door, he was like, "Oh yeah, I heard there was problems, and the owner or whatever wanted me to stop by." And it was like, did he want you to stop by at 12:30 in the morning, or is this like just when you happened to be getting home and you saw that we were still up? Clearly, because you know we're all just still.
I think that's what it was because I had not messaged the owner in quite a while. Like it'd been many hours since we had any contact with him, so it wasn't like there are immediate problems that need to be addressed. That wasn't it for sure. So yeah, he knocks on the door or whatever, and I go and talk to him. And that was one of the funniest damn things that's ever happened in my life, man. I still like. Earlier today, I was just sitting around thinking. In fact, I saw my therapist today, and I was telling her the story, and she lost her shit over the story. So I'm telling him like, all right, listen, there is one immediate thing that you can help us with. Like, there aren't enough towels. Like, where are the towels? You know the number of beds you're offering this place, and we found like 4 towels. And he's like, oh, you know what? I brought them in the hamper with all the other shit that was going on. I never even folded them and put them up like I was supposed to. He's like, I'll show you where they're at. I was like, cool. cool. That'll help a lot because like everyone wants to take a shower and not a towel. Justin refused to even go in the shower because the shit everywhere else. So anyways, he takes me upstairs. He's like, "Look in this closet here," and we pull back. It was one of those sliding door closets. We pull back the sliding door, and Badge had gotten to the house about 3 hours before that, and he was super tired because he'd had that long 10-hour flight. He's like, I need some rest. And we were all like, yeah, just go upstairs, man. There's a couple futons available. There might be a bed or two because I think Drew's moving beds, but that might be for Honey and Pack Rat. Just go figure it out. You'll see there's people's stuff's on the beds, the ones that are taken. And so he goes upstairs where we hadn't, seen or heard from him since then. So anyways, guy's taking me upstairs to show me the towels. He pulls back this sliding door, and Badge had taken a futon and crammed it into this tiny ass little closet space and was asleep. So we pull back this sliding door just to find Badge's face right there. And Badge wakes up and he's like, "What the hell, mate?" And meanwhile, cleaning guy's like, he's like looking at this guy, looking at Badge, looking at me, looking at Badge, looking at me, and I'm like, this is the guy from London, and he just took a long flight, so he's probably tired, which didn't really explain why he shoved a futon in the closet. And so me and the cleaning guy both just kind of lost it. We're just sitting there laughing at the whole situation. And so we shut Badge back up in there, and we're both just laughing or whatever. And he's like, all right, they're probably at the other end or whatever. And so we go to pull back the other end. It's just Badge's feet on the other side. So we end up finding the hamper eventually, but it required this whole weird Badge experience in the closet.
I'm so surprised it fit in the closet.
That was the thing. It took Patrick like an hour to get it out the next day, or whenever we checked out, he was trying to get it out, and he just couldn't. So I don't even know how Badge got the damn thing in there, but yeah, that was just typical Badge, real special. So then, in fact, the next morning, I wake up and Badge is just standing over me, and I'm like, "What's going on, man?" He's like, "Oh, I just want you to." I just want to recreate, my experience last night. He's like, but I don't have a gay black guy to stand beside me, so this is the best I can do.
That's funny.
And then Badge was like, who the fuck was that guy? He was just so confused by everything, basically. So, me and that guy talked for a while, the cleaning guy, and he was like, I run my own Airbnbs, and like, he's like, this whole one's a mess. The guy keeps advertising it in a way that's not quite accurate. People get here and they're pissed, or they keep coming and having parties because he's like, even whenever we booked it, in the title, it was like 420 friendly and all this stuff. And even like Chicago's legalized marijuana, but it's not legal until January in terms of buying it. So like listing your property as 420 friendly is kind of dumb. And it's funny because he changed the title after we had booked it to something else, probably because of all this party nonsense he's having go on. Maybe you shouldn't be, if you don't want people to come fuck your house up, maybe don't list it as like, hey, come do drugs in my house. Anyways, the cleaning guy was basically like, I'm sorry you guys are having a shitty time, but to be honest, like, John's kind of a mess in terms of this whole thing, and he doesn't know what he's doing. I keep trying to help him, and I'm trying my best to help him clean it and everything. And I was like, well, I mean, it wasn't anyone's fault. If they left this morning at 11 at checkout, he's like, no, they've been gone for like 3 days or 4 days. And I'm
what?
Like,
I didn't know that.
And I was like, wait, so you're telling me smeared shit sat around this house for 4 days and no one came to clean it? And he's like, yeah, John's out of town. And so, and we knew you guys were coming. So like, he asked me to come check on the house this morning. And I'm like, well, that's fucking negligence right there. Like, you should probably clean the house the moment other guests leave. Don't just let it sit around. Like, who knows what people leave behind? Like, what if there's a bunch of food in the trash can, make the whole place stink or whatever? Anyways, there was streaming. The stream could hear part of what I was saying, and I don't even remember the whole conversation I had with this guy. But the stream thought I was yelling at this guy, and I wasn't at all. This guy was super cool, super nice. He was only there trying to help, and he was just in a shitty situation that got thrust on him. And so I had nothing against the cleaning man. In fact, like the night we checked out,
do you know the cleaning man?
Yes, do you know? The last night we were there, we all went to the hotel and checked in, and we still had the house for that night, but none of us wanted to stay there. I was tired of sleeping on a shitty futon, and everyone was just tired of shitty house, shitty internet, shitty everything. But we did still want to stream that night, so we all went back to the house and streamed poker that night. I don't remember the point I was going to make here. Damn it.
And then we left. We took
Oh
lifts and
What I was
left.
gonna say is, I was trying to clean up a bit, and like some people were like, "The fuck are you doing? Why even try to clean this shitty house?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "Well, to be honest, I don't care about the owner or the shitty house, but the guy that did have to clean up the other people's mess was a super nice guy, and if we don't clean up, he's just gonna be stuck with the shit either way. So like, I'm gonna try to clean it up best I can. Hell, we probably left that place in a better condition than we found it, to be honest with you. So, anyways, that day, during the day, John messaged me and he's like, "Hey, I talked to my friend and I'd like to find some kind of compromise to make you happy," is what he said. Um, and I did not respond until everything of ours was out of that house because I didn't want to be like, "The place is shit and I want all my money back," while we still had stuff in the house. So the moment we left that house and moved everything over to the hotel that night after the poker stream, I messaged him like, "Hey, listen, dude, the only compromise I can really think of at this point is a full refund. Like, it doesn't make any sense that the house was listed the way it was." I'm like, I'm willing to forgive the cleaning nightmare that was left behind because, your previous tenant, even though I do understand it sat there for quite a while and probably should have been addressed sooner. Um, when it was addressed, attempts were made to do the best that could be done. What I can't forgive, however, and this is all on the phone or whatever, because he basically was like, "Call me whenever I told him I wanted a full refund," so I did. And I was like, what I can't forgive is the way you listed the house, saying there's this number of beds, there's a pool table, there's a dartboard when there's no darts, there's a pool table with no pool balls, or several are missing. The pool table is in no condition to be played on anyways. It's like, dude, you should remove the pool table from that list and completely throw that shitty pool table in the garbage and use whatever profits you get. If you want a pool table in the house, you need to buy one that's worth the fuck. And I was like, the beds you're listing as beds, they can sleep too. There's the worst futons I've ever experienced in my life. I was like, that house is just not as advertised. And he's like, yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. He's like, well, what can we do? And I'm like, well, you can give me a full refund. And he's like, well, I'm worried you're going to leave a negative
What else
review.
can we do?
Right. And he's like, well, I'm worried you're going to leave a negative review the moment I give you a refund. And I was like, I mean, you probably deserve that, but I'm going to tell you what, if you give me all my money back, I'm not going to worry about it. And he's like, here's what I'll do. You go on there right now and leave me a positive review, and I'll give you a full refund. And I was like, here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I haven't lied to you this whole time. I've been completely honest with how our experience has been. I've been brutally honest with you about everything I've experienced. And the last thing I'm going to do is lie about any of this. I'm not going to lie and say that the place was good. I'm not going to leave you any review at all. The best you can get out of me is a full refund and no review. But if you don't give me a full refund, here's what's going to happen. I'm still going to get a full refund because my credit card company is going to give it to me, or Airbnb is going to give it to me. And then I'm going to leave it negative. So I was like, these are your options. You can give me a full refund, and I promise you I won't leave you a negative review, and you can either trust me, or maybe I'm a liar, and you will get a negative review. But there's no way you're getting a positive review. And he finally was just like, all right, listen, I'll do that. I'll give you a full refund. And so then he goes to try to give me a full refund. We hung up the phone at that point. So he goes and tries to give me a full refund. And the way Airbnb is set up, they take their 30% off the top right at the start. And so all he can refund is 70% of the total cost. And he's like, listen, the site won't let me refund the full amount. It won't let me refund like $600. And he's like, you need to go through the resolution center on their site, and then I'll be able to process a full refund. And so I do. And then when I get to the part of like, how much money do you want back? It would only let me type in a number that was 70%. So I had to call them. And meanwhile, this was all like when the marathon's supposed to be starting. Like, this is the day of the marathon. So I'm like on the phone, and like, we're like 30 minutes to live. And 30 minutes, like not even like the pre-show was going. We're like 30 minutes to like the grand opening of the marathon. I'm on the phone with Airbnb. And this lady's like, what documentation do you have? And I'm like, what do you mean, what documentation do I have? She's like, well, you say there was feces everywhere. What do you have to prove it? I'm like, well, I didn't take a sample. Meanwhile, like Ambeth and some other people were like sitting around listening to this whole phone call and just cracking up because, like, what am I supposed to be doing here? And she's like, well, what other documentation do you have? And I'm like, well, I didn't take pictures of the feces because, frankly, that's gross. I was like, I didn't take pictures of the pool table and all those other things because I just didn't think it was necessary. I mean, and for the most part, the guys already say he's willing to give me a full refund. Just call him and he'll tell you. And she's like, well, that's one thing I'll do, but I still need all this documentation from you and proof of all these things, and I need pictures and evidence and all this stuff. And I'm like, listen, I got one picture of the refrigerator, and that's it. I didn't even take that. Justin took that. In fact, you'll see me if you go back and watch the VOD of the opening. I wasn't there at the opening of of the marathon, I walk in and I start talking to Justin in the corner and like in the back of everyone.
That
So,
was
like, if you go back and watch,
picture.
yeah, to get the picture. So yeah, if you rewatch the opening of the marathon, I'm not there. I come in frame, and it's literally just to talk to Justin about getting pictures of the shitty Airbnb stuff. Because someone thought that Justin had pictures of the actual feces, but he only had pictures of the refrigerator. And so, anyways, in the time it takes me to get that from him and everything, she calls the guy, and I had to argue with her because she kept telling me, no, Airbnb does not give full refunds. We have our own fees, and that 30%, that's taxes and fees that we will be keeping. And I had the same conversation with her. I was like, you can say it all you want, but I guarantee my credit card will get my money back. I was like, and I've been using Airbnb or VRBO or HomeAway, and I was like, no, most of those are all the same company, and I guarantee you won't get my business ever again if this is how you run these situations whenever service is not rendered as described. I was like, I know that, I was like, listen, you can reprimand your seller however you wish. And at one point I told her, I was like, because she asked me what all went down. I told her the same story, and she's like, if you have told the seller that you will not leave a negative review as long as he gives you a refund, that's extortion and that's illegal. And I was like, what? And she's like, yes, you've committed a crime of extortion.
Not sure you're the one extorting when he's the one that was. I can't believe he pulled the give me a positive review bullshit.
Oh yeah. Because he said he's had it happen in the past where someone says they won't leave a negative review and then they immediately do after he gives a refund.
Oh,
so
because he's that shitty that this has happened numerous times.
Right. And that shit was never gonna happen. There was no chance of me leaving a positive review. And so, anyways, me and this woman kind of argued about it too, where she was basically saying I was only going to get the 70% or whatever. Anyways, in the end, she talks to him after her and I argued for a bit. I finally did send her that picture, but so in the end, we got the full refund, but it was not a pleasant experience working with Airbnb to make that happen.
Did Airbnb give it to you, or?
Yes, I mean they processed it. They probably took his 70% back from him, and they covered the other 30% or whatever. But yeah, we did get the full refund back for the whole place.
I can't believe he tried to pull the give me a positive review. That is baffling.
Well, it gets better
me.
after the review gets the refund gets processed. He sends me a text, and hold on, let me just pull it up to make sure I'm not even gonna paraphrase. I'm gonna get this shit 100% correct. Give me a second, get the actual text. Man, these chests are full now.
Yep, I just added more on the left side because they're
I see. Hold on. Actually, coming up here. Find his. A lot of text. Okay, here we go. He says, I've approved the full refund, FYI. I hope you will give my home another chance in the future. I will even offer you a discount toward a future stay due to the inconvenience. I just responded back with, thanks, John. But, yeah, you couldn't pay me to stay in that house a second time. The discount for a future stay must need to be 100%, and then I'd still be like,
I wonder though if he said that basically this has happened in the past where somebody immediately gave him a negative review after the full refund. How often has he fucking done this?
Right.
How often do you have to give refunds that you're begging people not to give you negative reviews?
Right. Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. Maybe it's just maybe it's like I don't understand the whole Uber and Lyft situation with the stars and like people if you don't get 5 stars is like a terrible thing. Remember?
Well, the reason why is because like they quickly lose their job. Like if they drop below, like, God, I don't remember what the number used to be, but it was something crazy, like
4.2, wasn't it?
I thought it was higher than that.
Oh, is it? It's, yeah, which is weird. Does a 5-point scale? If you're a 4 out of the 5-point scale, you're pretty good, right?
Well, that's kind of how eBay used to do it. If you dropped below 4.8, maybe that's where 4.8 actually come from in my mind. If you dropped below 4.8, you were considered a riskful seller, and your auctions would no longer be listed when they ended. You would be on like page 10 with 15 seconds left.
I don't understand like some of those concepts, but I remember the place I stayed to in London where I gave them a you 4 out of 5 stars or whatever, however Airbnb does it, or whatever. And I even said it was a positive review, and I just said in the comment, like, everything, all this stuff was good. The only thing was I didn't know there was a child on site, and it made me uncomfortable because of, I was coming back drunk as shit at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I felt I didn't want to be in that situation.
Right.
And they went back and forth with me, wanting me to remove the comment and how much it was going to hurt them. And I was just like, I don't understand, like, what's going on right now. I gave you a 4 out of 5. And I was looking through their things, and other people had given them 3s and 4s that were, positive comments too. And like, I didn't think there was anything wrong when I read those 3s and 4s. I read the comment that was about it and was like, oh, this person didn't like, this concept, but that doesn't matter to me,
Right.
So
I mean, it's weird how some of these metrics work with these sites where just even one negative review just destroys you or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I would have given that. I don't know. I didn't know it was a star system, but I would have given that house a 0.
Well, I can't remember if it's a star system or if it's like what the hell it is, but I gave it like 1 tick below the top.
Yeah. But that was my first bad Airbnb, and I hope that's my last. I'm sure it won't be, but as long as I don't stay with Justin, I feel like I'm pretty safe.
I am definitely afraid to get like one of those ones that doesn't really exist.
That's the thing. Like, I don't know, because what I always do is I look at the reviews, and one of the things I look for is time. Like, I want to see reviews dating back a long time. And whenever they showed me that one that was fake, to me, it stood out as fake. So Justin didn't book it, though. This wasn't Justin's fault. Someone else had booked it. But
you think there were red flags?
There was definite red flags. I would have never booked the place they booked. So I do believe that one could have been prevented with just a little bit more. Maybe, I don't know how many times these people have done. I don't know. I don't even know who booked it. I just know it wasn't Justin.
Right.
And
you got to start. Somebody's got to be the first one, though, right?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, but that's the whole Airbnb story. It was kind of a nightmare, but we had fun around town and stuff. Did you make it there in time to go to that pizza place?
Yes.
That Drew was all about?
Yes.
What did you think of that place?
No. I mean, the bread was super good.
Oh, that's right. You sat there with me.
Yeah, the antipasto was good, but had weird ingredients on it. That I wasn't expecting, but it was still tasty. It was just different than I was expecting. The bread thing itself, because it was it was a deep dish, like a hot pocket, not hot pocket. Shit, what do you call it? Pot pie.
Yeah.
Deep dish pot pie. I said hot pocket because you had made a comment, and I agree with it. It tasted like a hot pocket. It was just okay, this is pizza ingredients in here, but they're nothing special by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, no, I was not impressed by that dish at all. And that was like, that's the only pizza you could even get there.
Did you see Drew's sandwich, though?
God almighty, I did. That thing was humongous.
Maybe that's why he likes it. It's like he gets dinner for a week if he goes there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He likes the Mediterranean bread, too, which was really good. I like that bread. Was good. But no, I watched a video on the place beforehand and the whole pot pie making method and all this stuff, and I was like, that shit looks good. And then I got it, and I was like, this is a hot pocket.
I also still don't understand why a successful restaurant like that limits and doesn't do credit cards.
When you're that successful, you don't have to pay that 30%.
I guess that's true. It's
just 2.7%.
It's just weird. It's like, I don't know.
Think how much money they're saving by doing that, though.
Yeah, about 2.7%.
Yeah, and 30 cents on every transaction too. And so if you get one beer and you pay for it with a card, then you get another beer and pay for a card, you're already 60 cents out. Or yeah.
Well, and they probably get a cut from that ATM that's in their doorway.
They might. So hell, they might be making even more money. But
I mean, it's true. I just don't understand. Like, you're not catering toward. It's gonna come back and bite you in the ass at some point.
I don't think it is. They've been in business for 30 years. And you saw the line we left. That shit was bumping. You couldn't. Hell, the thing that blew my mind was you got to be damn skinny and fit to even get in the damn seats in that place.
That was kind of interesting.
So yeah, like I barely fit in that damn booth.
Yeah, that was very strange. How you literally any bigger than you, and you do not fit in that booth anymore.
Yeah,
It was strange.
Yeah, the whole place was weird, but it certainly didn't have any trouble filling the seats.
Yeah, that's true.
So I guess that's just you got to find the right business. I don't know, man. But anyways, I think that's it for us there.
All right, guys. We will see you next time.
Bye bye, everybody.
See you.